Let's hit it.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Unconnoisseur. We are back together tonight, the three bros. I'm Phil.
My name's Matt.
And I'm Drew.
Good to have you all with us tonight and enjoying some jazz talk.
Introduce the artist real quick. Who are we going to talk about this week?
Tonight we get to talk about Gary Burton. And I will say, after all the 3 weeks that I've been with you all, I'm in love now. I really do love jazz. Gary Burton. The Genuine Tong Funeral, though, I have to tell you, wasn't my favorite album, but it shook me.
Don't give it away too early. Don't give it away too early.
Here it comes. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Shook me from the 1960s. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that was Gary Burton, Genuine Tong Funeral. 1967 it was recorded. 1968 it was released.
Yep.
A lot of big names on it. Matt, would you like to start us off with an audio clip of your choice there on this album so that we can introduce the music of Gary Burton, and then we can explain who he is, what he does, and where the album came from?
Absolutely. The song that I'm going to pick is actually song number 1, but I want to start right around 2:10, 2:12, right 2 minutes and 12 seconds into the song, and we'll just play like 45 seconds of that clip.
Yeah, boy.
Just to kind of give y'all, an indication of what the album is and what we're in for. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
It's welcome to the album.
There's your intro. Nice.
So, Gary Burton, do we want to talk about the music first this week, or do we want to go into our world? Because I think we have a phone call in about 10 minutes coming in.
Yeah, we've got a special caller that's going to call in about 10 minutes, but let's do that. Let's go through our week real quick. I mean, it was 4th of July week. So our video last week, I'll go ahead and start. Our video last week of our recommendations, the 4 for 4, man, you had some bangers in that recommendation. I'm telling you what. The Kamasi Washington album, I had that in my ear on the 4th of July, and I was just, it's not overwhelming, but man, I was jazzed up with the Kamasi. Yeah. And then Roy Hargrove later after the fireworks.
Yep.
Who dog?
Who doggy?
Who dog?
Get your dogs.
What about you?
July. Well, after being at the live music, it's something that kicks back, like we've said, I think in the last couple of weeks. Once you're at live, you get fired up. That's more in love with the music because you're watching it, you're enjoying it.
Yeah,
people were there. So yeah, my week was really good though. I sat in a dentist office and heard jazz and went, that's where I know this from. I didn't ID the artist or anything. I'm still an unconnoisseur, but
it wasn't recognizable yet.
Not yet.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. We're working on you. We'll get you there. I promise.
There you go.
That's funny.
Yeah.
How about you, Drew?
It was Sarah's birthday on the 4th. So we had a celebration, had folks over. And in the morning, as I started to Carnita meet, I put on the Phil Driscoll album. And that was one of your recommendations, Celebration. And bro, I got to tell you, it was so funny to me. I knew the album. It's like I had memorized it in a past life. I knew what song was coming next. I knew how it was going to unfold. And it just made me laugh because it was like we've talked about it. We've memorized the albums. You know what the cover looks like. You know what the songs are. You know how they end. And you know how long in between the finish of one and the beginning of another. Yeah. And I knew Celebration. And it took me back to being in the house listening to your influence, Phil Driscoll. And so, man, it was a great 4th of July. It was safe. We had a lot of fun. We ate a lot of carnitas, and we had a good birthday party. So I am now fully prepared to come home and cook.
You better be. You better quit talking until you start bringing. And I have to tell you, you're telling your age right now, because the only reason you know the order of things is there was no such thing as shuffle back in your day when all you had is a tape player.
No, you're absolutely right, and you and I have discussed that before. The way that we listen to music today versus the way that we listen to music in the past, where man, I'd go out and buy that CD, and I would sit there for the whole hour listening to the CD, in order, and learn it in order. And that way, man, if I did hit the shuffle key, it was exciting because oh man, you don't know what's coming up next.
Something new.
Yeah, something new.
Yeah.
But kids today, or young people today, or even you listening to your music on
YouTube Shuffle.
YouTube Shuffle.
Once my album ends on YouTube Music, it just says, here's what we think you might like. And so if I go to the artist, like the one we're working on today, the album finished. And so I just put it on shuffle, and I listened to another couple hours of random albums, but it was all from the same artist. And so, you're right. Back in the cassette days, I saw somebody the other day said, if you were in the 80s, kids, you knew what taking a pencil to the tape meant.
Yeah.
You had to spin it around to rewind it so it could start all over again. Why? Because I didn't want to wait 3 minutes for it to do it on the machine.
Or your cassette player ate it and it was all strung out, and that pencil would string it back in there.
Heck yeah.
And moving on to CDs, carry the Walkman gently or it would skip. And now I've got a watch with all the music on it, or my phone with all the music. So it has changed a lot.
I'm still stuck though in the old school. I want to hear the whole album the way that it was made, song number 1 to song number 9.
Yeah,
I'm still old school like that. And so
old, you can stop at that.
Hey, I had a birthday this week too.
That's right. We gotta go there. We gotta go there.
We ate the smack out of some French fries at Red Robin's.
So.
Oh yeah, the all you can eat.
All you can eat French fries, baby.
You eat too much. You go home now. It was all you can eat, but you ate all. I think about that comedian.
Yeah.
Yes. So happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yes, happy birthday. Yeah. We celebrated an 8-year fries worth too, Drew.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I bet you did. I wanted to look at the date really quick, because when this episode comes out on the 17th, I want to make a side note here. Mom and Dad will be celebrating their 56th anniversary. And last week we may have missed our math. Our math was not mathing. So in a few days, happy anniversary, Mom and Dad.
Yep. Yeah, happy anniversary.
Any other exciting?
Great role models for us to live, all three of us.
Absolutely. If I even make it to that old, I hope I'm still celebrating 56.
Right. Well, and Matt, we talked about it today. Some of the pictures that were on the slideshow last week that y'all are yet to see, you'll see those in the morning, by the way, is our Decatur crew. You know, to all of those who also celebrated their 50th, the Martins, Bixlers, and the Pollings. So there were some great role models there too.
Absolutely.
And family. I mean, you'll see some of those pictures. Man, I can't wait for y'all to see that episode tomorrow morning.
Oh, cool. Oh, cool.
So I'll tell you what, why don't we run through the slideshow at least until we get that the phone call.
Let's roll the slideshow because it's a banger.
All right, here we go. So first slide, again, this is I just love it. Whatever you do it to jazz. And of course, this week we're talking about Gary Burton, a genuine Tong funeral.
Such a crazy name.
It is a crazy name. Yeah. Slide number 2. The next slide is just the artwork for the album. I actually really love the artwork. And if you look at it, the white part of the artwork looks like someone laying there, maybe in a casket, not a Tong, but well, you know what?
It could be.
It is a Tong.
Yeah, it is but with a face built into the Tong.
Yeah, there's a nose and a mouth. I can see it now.
Yeah. And what is that? Spaghetti and peas and I don't know.
I thought it was a sunset and a field and a bush, but spaghetti and peas. Okay.
Spaghetti and peas.
I don't know. We talked about French fries. I don't see those,
Yeah,
but I
don't
do
the
see other
French
food.
fries.
The Rice Boys talking food again.
But I do. That's one of the things that I really love about the journey and looking at all the artwork on the albums but
Yep.
I never really looked at it that closely until right now, and
There you
I
go.
always thought it was a face, but now I'm thinking it's a meat tongue. You
Yeah.
flip over meat on the grill.
There you go.
Next slide. Just got a couple of pictures of Gary. I don't know, what can I say? Well, first of all, those are great photographs. Those looks like something you would do,
Yeah.
Drew.
Yeah.
Totally looks like something you would do. But
Good lighting.
he's just a cool looking dude. I mean, we'll talk about the 4-mallet technique that he kind of pioneered in just a little bit, but yeah, just a couple of pictures of Gary. So let's move on to the next slide. so we're studying a genuine Tong funeral, but I was sending recommendations to Phil pretty much all week long, and this next slide is the artwork for which one?
Passengers.
Yeah,
such a good album.
Yeah.
Such a good album. Yeah.
This is kind of the one I got stuck on the week we were listening to Gary Burton too. I'm a huge fan of Eberhard Weber, not Weber, Eberhard Weber. His bass has got that really haunting sound.
Oh
yes.
Yeah.
And you can really tell. Oh, hey, by the way, all right, we're gonna pause this slideshow in just a minute. Hang on. Nope.
We got a phone call.
Good evening. Thank you for calling the Unconnoisseur Talk Show. How can we help you this evening?
Okay, there you go.
Okay, there we go. Hi, caller. You are on the Unconnoisseur. How can we help you this evening?
I have a question for you. I've been listening to the podcast every week, and I love the way you're discussing so many different jazz artists.
Great. Well, thank you.
I was wondering, though, is there a certain criterion that the music has to meet to be considered jazz?
Ooh. Is there a certain criteria
Yeah.
that the music has to meet to be considered jazz?
Right.
It's a great question to ask, because basically what I feel like you're maybe asking is, what is jazz, or how do you determine if a particular kind of music is jazz?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Because there's been a variety that you guys have played.
Yeah, that you have to stretch your imagination to even believe that it's jazz.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Okay.
So was there a criterion for that?
Okay. Phil, what do you think?
Well, I just so happened to have read a book this week by Robert Galinas that was sent to me by my brothers. And there's an underline that I made because I had that very same question. Thank you for that question, caller. And
certainly,
I realized that there are things that have to be in jazz to make it jazz, but they're bigger, broader strokes than you think they are. And so here's what was quoted from this book. If we can learn to hear and see it in music, then we can apply the key notes that have to be there. And he's attributing it to our faith the same way. Jazz is most acceptable in the realms of instruments, sounds, 4/4 time, and musicians who call themselves cats. So that's part of jazz. But he puts it in 3 things. He says there's key notes, if you will, to unlock jazz, which is syncopation, improvisation, and call and response.
Ooh.
Those 3 things make it jazz, according to the author.
Okay.
So all those pieces that are like typical music. However, here's where he says jazz is syncopation gone mad. So you have to have the accent on the offbeat. This is where he made a distinction, and I went, okay, now I have a grasp a little bit more. I don't know if that answers your question there, but it helped me.
Well, that's one answer. Let me give you what kind of my answer is. A few weeks ago, when we were discussing the Joe Harriet double quintet, and you made the comment that jazz is a language. After the episode, my brain was firing just from that nugget that you dropped on that episode, first of all. So I wrote down a few other things that jazz is to me. Jazz is a story. If you can hear a story in a song or the entirety of an album, that may be jazz. Okay. Jazz is a language. I wrote that down so I didn't forget that you said it. Jazz may be a parable, again, a story, but something that you can learn from. Jazz is a feeling. How does we talk about it on the show all the time? How does that make you feel? Jazz is a journey, and you're on our journey with us on the Unconnoisseur, and we really appreciate you calling in. But
thank you.
But jazz is a reminder, okay? And I'm thinking of Bix and of Pops and of Duke and of Ella. Those gold standards remind us today of maybe how to form jazz music. So that's my answer to the question. Drew, what do you got?
The answer that I would have, Matt, for a lot of that is that you touched on this. It's the feel. How does it make you feel? But I take a page out of Wynton Marsalis's book. Jazz is about three things. It's about us as an individual, learning the music. It's learning to solo. It's learning to improvise throughout life, not just music. And so it becomes about me. It becomes about us because we're on the bandstand together. And so there's a democracy in that, learning to work with other people, learning to work with people who hear things differently, see things differently, believe things differently. And then it's about the swing. It's about everybody together, playing together, being together on stage. And I think that those three things sum it up from Wynton Marsalis. It's me, it's us, and it's the band, how we work together in that democracy. But the key factors to me, and Matt, you touched on it with feeling, it's the reminder, it's a journey. Phil, you touched on syncopation. Jazz as a music, other than the philosophy of it, it's offbeat. And the last one is call and response. If I throw out a suggestion, I wait for you to throw something back. And so it's that togetherness, learning that. Yep. I know that that's a lot of information for you. It really is. But well, let's go back to this. First and foremost, it's how does it make you feel? Can we do it together?
And like you said, it still leaves a wide spectrum, but there are certain criteria that you can see.
Yes.
And in that variety. Yeah. Well, that has been very helpful. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for calling in.
Speaking of this, the call and our response is the exact way that language works and the exact way that jazz works.
That's
so
right.
Thanks for calling.
Call and the response.
Yeah.
And you know what? Hey, we're going to be recording next week too. So if you got another question that you can think of, man, we'd love to hear from you.
I will just consider that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And keep up the good work, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, thanks for the call.
How awesome was that? Now we're a call-in talk show.
Now we're a call-in talk show. Now we have to go live, baby.
Now we have to go live.
I can produce that. That's all right.
You did record, right?
Oh, crap. Yeah, I did. I was recording.
Okay.
And it's, you know what, Matt, I got to be honest. It's tough to express and explain it. Even as simple as Wynton Marsalis's lectures are to hear and understand. When she said that, I wrote down swing, improv, syncopation, and the call and response. Yeah. But at the end of it, the feel, it's about feeling the music. Right. Phil, you'll appreciate this.
Even the name came from shaking
your butt.
Yeah, shaking your butt.
You know what? That's funny because in the book they came up with something else, but I can't say this on the Unconnoisseur.
Why not? You cussed last week.
Because if you don't beat me out, I'm gonna have two cuss words.
Well, JASS. Shake your jazz.
It is.
But it goes deeper than that. This was what was actually drawing me into this book this week. And this is Finding the Groove, Composing a Jazz-Shaped Faith, that you guys got me. And this was where it pushed deep for me, because what they said was this was from blues. And the people who were playing the blues were people who were coming from some pain. And those people who were coming from some pain were those who were in slavery in a free
Yep.
country. Those slaves in a free country would be sitting there playing some blues, and they said, "Oh, these guys are a bunch of jackasses on the porch, right? Playing their blues, whatever." So then it became jazz, right? And then they were like, "Nah, jazz doesn't sound right, so let's go with jazz." So this is actually, if you go deep, this is a derogatory term that this came from. But you ready for this? 2 degrees of
Preach it.
separation. You ready for the 2 degrees of separation?
Sure.
It has nothing to do with the artist, but it has this. Pain gave way to blues, and blues gave way to jazz. And they were connected right there.
Yep.
Is that 2 degrees? Is that how that works? Pain
Sounds
gave way
great.
to
Well, they
blues,
were
and
connected.
blues to jazz.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
connected.
They were
And that-
connected right
and
there.
that is it. Through the pain and the suffering, the blues, you have them. And in Albert Murray's book, Stomping the Blues, it was the whole conversation about the Blue Devil sitting there, shaking your world up, making you believe that you're not anything good. So shake
Yeah.
the blues away. Go dance the
Yeah.
blues away.
Yeah.
But the blues was, here's what I'm dealing with. And I'm going to get it
Mhm.
out of my system. And from that comes the celebration of jazz music. We just want to celebrate that we've shaken the blues away.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
feeling that encompasses that statement of feeling. It's not about how it feels as a music. How does it make you feel? Can I shake the blues away? Can I celebrate my little victories? Can I celebrate the big victories?
Yep. Yeah.
It's a language.
It was,
Jazz.
it was a great question from that caller, by the way.
Yeah.
It's just
Ooh,
we can talk about artists until we're blue in the face, but until we really know and can define for ourselves what jazz is, then we're just talking not. Well, I mean, we're still talking nonsense, but
well, and Matt, it's interesting because a musician that I'd asked a couple of years ago about his standard. You know, what's the deal of this? And every musician I've talked to has a standard answer. If you watch documentaries, they have their standard go-to answer. Why? Because the question has been asked enough times that you need to have that sugar stick, right? What
Right.
sermon are you going to preach, Phil? I got one in my back pocket. I'll just
Right.
How do you answer what jazz is? And I think it's become important for us to be able to look at that and go, yeah, I think we can answer that question.
well,
But-
no, okay. I'm still wrestling with it though because Sting is not jazz music. He's got syncopation. He's got instruments.
Yeah.
He sings on the offbeat. His instruments play on the offbeat, but
Yeah.
he's not pigeonholed into jazz.
You can't define it by the fact that it's got brass or woodwinds in it, because that means every rock band that ever had a saxophone or a trombone
Right.
in it would be classified as jazz.
Right.
So Louis Armstrong said jazz is jazz.
If I
And
have to
now-
explain it, you'll never understand it.
But it's this. Pop is not jazz. Blues is not jazz. It doesn't fit. So there's something that you feel that you know this is jazz. You've got it. Right? That means it fits into that
pigeonhole. The
pigeonhole of jazz. Here's another one for you. Jazz is music that's never played the same way once. That was
Never
Louis
played the same
Armstrong.
way once.
That caller
Let
may
that
have
sink in.
already let that question sneak out to you somehow. Did
No.
you telepathically get that
No,
question from the
it
caller?
was
'Cause
you
are,
guys
like,
who threw
ready.
me into this book this week. And here's another one because I was chasing that since I asked the question. Here's how Miles Davis said it. Don't play what's there. Play what's not there.
Don't play what's there, ninja. Play what's not there.
Come on. Come on.
That's
Oh,
what
that's good.
So
yeah. And
Okay.
sometimes that's what it is.
Yeah.
But it's
well, especially for Miles, not
Yeah.
what's not there. Yeah.
well,
Mm.
and you think about some of the Ooh.
Yeah.
I watched a third part of Zero Gravity last night.
Again.
So
Again.
yeah.
So what's that,
You
number
heard
4
it?
times through or 5
I've
times?
watched it all the way through 5 times, and it's part 1, 2, and 3. So that's a lot of it's documentary on Wayne Shorter.
Yeah.
And-
And it's a great
okay.
documentary.
And when
Okay.
he finished with Tyson Neil,
DeGrasse Tyson.
DeGrasse
yep.
Tyson, yeah.
yes, They were looking at his collection of porcelain fairies and the imagination of Wayne Shorter. And last week, the quote, he was a father figure and he sent us out to other galaxies and brought us back. That was about Kometa, Christoph Kometa. But Wayne did that. I'll go float over here, and sometimes he may not come home. He just floats around the universe and then comes back and goes, hey, was that good music? I went flying with Miles.
You know, Neil deGrasse Tyson was never a passenger on a spaceship. So let's
I was gonna see how you're pulling this back, because we had a passenger
our
caller
slideshow
came on.
My slideshow is still up with the slide from the
Passengers. Yeah, let's roll that. Let's go back. We'll get back into the conversation of jazz and what is it. Go ahead and let's finish the slideshow off.
So this slide, again, we're looking at the Passengers album artwork, and one of Gary Burton's quotes. I love the quote. Certainly one of the more common experiences in jazz field is discovering someone new. And Drew and I know this. You know this on the journey as well. Man, we turn the page, never heard of the artist before, and boom, new music in our ears from 1959, 1958, and it's new to us. Improvising musicians are capable of being musical travelers and voyagers. We want to join in on whatever we hear. There is a freedom to wander the musical landscape. So
that's good.
Yeah,
that's
really good. Really great quote from Burton.
That pushes you to enjoy what's there. We're on a journey. Ride the wave, man. Get in there. That is a journey. And if you can appreciate that free flow, that avant-garde, man, these guys are making it up as they roll.
No, Gary's not making it up. Anyways, let's move to the next slide. We'll do the lingo for the day, because that might help a little bit too.
Cool.
Jazz lingo for the day. And the word I picked was bridge. Now, the bridge is the contrasting middle section of a tune, especially the B section of an AABA song form. It's also called the B section because it's the bridge, or the B section. Mm-hmm. Traditionally, the bridge goes into a different key, often a remote key. All right. And some of the notable songs in AAB format, just so you know, and can picture a bridge, A Night in Tunisia by Dizzy Gillespie. Yep. And you know the tune. Now that's the head. That's A. That's the bridge. That's B, the B section. All right. So oftentimes you're watching live jazz, you'll see that either the conductor or the band leader, he'll tap his head. Take it back to the head.
Oh.
Take it back to the head. Take it back to the top. All right.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So another notable song, Holla Back Girl.
I didn't know you were going to go there.
Bananas. Bananas.
No way.
Yeah, that's the B section in Holla Back Girl.
Yep.
Because I ain't no holla back girl. I ain't no holla back girl. It's bananas. Bananas. That's the B section of Holla Back.
I don't know what's more funny, the fact that connects, or that you're singing that right now.
I got that on film, baby.
That's right.
Well, and it was funny because I was going to say this: take it to the bridge.
Take it to the bridge.
Take it to the bridge.
Ooh, JT. JT, baby. Yes.
Yeah. Take it to the bridge.
Nice. I like that slide. Thanks for that.
Yeah. I thought you were going to go with Blue Bossa.
Could have done Blue Bossa. Could have done Take the A Train.
Take the A Train. Ooh, I'm learning that one this week, by the way.
That's an AABA format as well. Now, oftentimes there will be a C section or an improvised section. So it's, you've got the AA, the B, they'll play the bridge, and then a soloist will come and do a solo over the chords. We'll get to the...
And when they're done soloing, you'll see the leader say, let's go back to the head.
Back to the head, baby.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
Now we know.
Jazz lingo for the day.
Sweet.
All right, let's move on to the next slide, and when we're almost done with the slideshow. Burton was born in 1943, and he's still alive today. Some of his influences, what I found was Bill Evans was his inspiration, and Bill Evans is a piano player, but Gary he loved Bill's style so much that he wanted to mimic it on the marimba, on the vibraphone. And so Gary taught himself to play marimba at 6 years old. And he was listening to Bill Evans and trying to mimic that style of Bill's piano playing on the vibes.
Wow.
So just really, really cool style that he's got. 62 studio albums and compilations. I just put a whole bunch. I mean, it's a list long as I am tall. Compilation albums and artists that he's worked with. So love his music. And I promise you this Genuine Tongue and Travelers as good, or Passengers, as good as they are, man, I haven't even begun to scrape the surface of Burton and his work, and it's going to be a lifelong journey for me enjoying Gary Burton's work. Genre, of course, is jazz, and he was one of the pioneers of fusion jazz as well. So jazz and fusion for the genre. Now, Gary is known for his innovative pianistic style of the
say that one twice.
Innovated the pianistic style of the 4-mallet technique. Now, when Delaney was in high school, she did a marimba solo for Isma one year, and she did 4 mallets. Okay, and it doesn't look easy. She made it look easy, but it's not. It's not easy. And so when you listen to Gary, he's got 4 mallets in his hands, and he's making constant beautiful music with his mallets. Again, he was a pioneer of fusion jazz, 7-time Grammy winner. Now, man, we talked about Herbie last week, right?
Yeah.
We talked about Cometa last week. Herbie was the week before that. I don't remember how many Grammys Herbie had, but Gary, 7-time Grammy winner for Burton, though. Man, it just blows me away. Blows me away. He was, a major figure in music education from his 30 years of teaching at Berkeley. Okay. Now you'll notice that I'm wearing my man Pat Metheny's t-shirt. Okay.
Oh yeah.
This Pat Metheny t-shirt. Gary was a teacher of Pat Metheny.
No.
My favorite artist.
All right.
And Gary's one of his teachers.
Taught him. Wow.
One of his teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, he's not known for this, but my man Gary Burton is from Anderson. He was born in Anderson, Indiana. He's a Hoosier. Hoosiers. So let's go Hoosiers.
Hometown baby.
Hometown baby.
Where is it? There it is, man.
Yeah, there it is.
Got that today from the Visitors Center, downtown Fort Wayne. That's home.
That's real.
I'm
cool.
proud. I actually am proud now to say, hey, I'm from
He's from Indiana.
Indiana.
Well, yeah, because Gary Burton.
Like Gary Burton.
West Montgomery.
West Montgomery.
Yeah.
I saw another name popped up the other day. Born in Indianapolis. I thought it was Freddie Hubbard. So we need to look into this.
Oh snap!
There is a historical impact of Indiana and the jazz music in the history of it. Not only Richmond, but
we're going to experience some of that in just a couple of weeks on the channels. Let's do 6 Degrees and we'll move on. Ready?
Right.
6 Degrees. Gary Burton played with Herbie Hancock on an album, and I actually had it pulled up, but I closed my browser and the tabs got closed, and I didn't find it again. So Burton, Hancock, Davis. So 2 degrees.
That's 2. Yeah. Cool.
Phil?
What did you find? Did you find another one?
I found another few.
Another few.
When you get excited and you start looking at, I'm just like, okay, write that name down. Jimmy Knepper and Miles and Burton.
Yeah.
Steve Lacy, Keith Jarrett, Quincy Jones.
Jarrett. Oh, yeah.
Korea.
Okay, Chick. That's who I was thinking because I connected to him.
So I just started. I'm like, okay, and they have a lot. They have a lot in common. They do.
Yeah.
I'm just proud to say this week I know all 3 names.
Gary Burton, Herbie Hancock, and Miles Davis.
I know all 3 names.
Yeah, you
do. Oh boy, here we go.
Finally catching up.
Yep.
That's awesome. All right, let's move on to the last slide. I'll do Today in Jazz History, July 17th. On this day in 1923, Jelly Roll Morton records with the New Orleans Rhythm Kings. It's one of the first integrated recording sessions.
Wow.
Okay. Why is that important to me? Because coming up in just a few weeks, we are going to be recording the Unconnoisseur episode live, all three of us together, in a location that might have been recorded at.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay, that's why it's cool to me. We're going to be in that spot. We're going to be on the grounds where that may have taken place. So 1923, Jelly Roll Morton, New Orleans Rhythm Kings.
Sweet.
Yep.
Another one final quote from Gary Burton, and then I'm shutting up and I'm going to let you guys talk about Gary. I grew up in a farm town in Indiana. In the early years, I played by myself because there was no other musicians around.
That's
You
good.
know, you and I talked the other day about having to practice an hour while your friends were outside playing. He had no friends outside playing, so he just said, "Screw it, I'm going to
I'm
practice."
gonna just keep playing.
And
That's good.
we've been down those country roads, those county roads, and you know that there's nothing out there for miles.
Nothing.
And you're definitely not going to carry your vibraphone down there to play with them.
Nope.
Oh man.
That's good.
All right.
Hey, now that you've finished, I want to drop in another audio clip. I think
That's a
Phil,
good
you
idea.
had one. So
Yes.
which one was this going to be?
Yes. I think it's number 11. It says 7 there for some dirge. Maybe mine is different in the way that I looked it up. Yeah. But
I use Wikipedia and it goes to a track listing. There are only 10 songs on the album, so it's not number 11.
no, I'm telling you, look at how mine shows up. A Genuine Tongue Funeral, and then it has the end, the opening, the interlude, the Survivor. Like it shows those.
But look, that's all track number 1. It may be
I
split
have
up
no
on
idea.
yours.
It might be split up on
Yeah.
Spotify.
All right, we're going to drop in song number 7
7.
on the Wikipedia list, and on the album cover it shows number 7, Some Dirge. And you wanted to start that right at the beginning because you wanted to hear about 10 seconds in.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
What a good clip of that.
I don't know if there should be an old man standing outside of a Barnes funeral home
Wow, man.
doing a
You went there.
He did go there.
tuba, and then the saxophone plays as we come marching
He
in.
might lose his good son card. I don't know.
After this, I think he's going to get stripped of it.
The dirge,
Too early.
dirge.
It's interesting because both of these clips really don't touch on the vibraphone and what Burton is known for. And I think that we've kind of skirted right over that in who played on the album and who did what. I think that the thing that hit us when we get to the place where we actually are going to rate this, one of the things that we ask about week after week after listening to this album is that it was a composition by Carla Bly. So
Yeah.
she had written this, and in the timeline of Gary Burton playing this, he wanted to start searching for something different. So he was in an experimental phase. He was willing to put his name out there on something unique and different. Carla had this composition, and so she put this group together to play it, but it's got his name on it. And so it's not the vibraphone that I expect to hear throughout most of this. You can hear it subtly throughout the entire album. And so like that Some Dirge song starts with the tuba, moves into the saxophone. We still don't hear Gary. And so I think that's something to be noted.
On the parts where he is notable, though, you know that it's Gary Burton and not another vibraphonist.
Yes.
Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gary's got an interesting sound and an interesting style that he's, again, like my man Pat Metheny.
Well,
he's got a sound that's recognizable, and I've listened to some other vibraphonists, and none of the other vibraphonists that I've listened to have that same sound like Gary. It's almost like he's pulling the sound out of the vibraphone instead of whacking the sound out of the vibraphone.
Yep, I agree. If you listen to Milt Jackson,
Totally
like Bags Groove, for example, Milt Jackson, he is hitting it.
Yeah,
he's hammering down, and Gary is pulling it out. That's an interesting look at that, Matt.
Yeah, Joel Ross. I love Joel Ross's new album called New Blues, and I've listened to that 4, 5, 6 times just because I like the music. But it's not Gary. I mean, Gary, he's got his own sound, and he, you know,
he has. I hate to say, but every time I hear him play, he has that distinct sound that I say, if he was the only player of the vibraphone, then every single person in all of City Slickers would know him as they got on an elevator, because that's what it sounded like immediately to me when I heard it the first time, and I thought, okay, that's like elevator music. Or dentist, like you're sitting in the dentist and you're just getting that smooth, okay, he's just pulling me away and I can kind of relax into it.
Well,
and that's what I actually then say I appreciated about it, because it's a stop, it's a chill. What else can you do when you get into an elevator? You just have to stand there. What are you doing when you're in the dentist? You're just sitting there waiting there. And it's what he brings to it, is that smoothness into the jazz where you're comfortable. We literally, this week was the first week that I could put on the artist of the week, and nobody in my house objected.
Well,
they all enjoyed
Jazz Suite, and
well, okay, I take that back. Herbie, there was more, enjoyment. But this was the first one where they're like
the full song being able to play, and you're not listening to New York Minute, and then Brecker comes in and starts whacking your head and saying, "I got to turn that off because here comes Brecker."
Yes,
but Gary Burton, you could put on and listen to with your whole family, and not feel like, oh man, they're not enjoying this because it's out there,
right? Yeah.
Whereas a genuine Tong Funeral is out there. I mean, as far as an album goes, it's not so musically out there that your family didn't enjoy it. That's a good nugget right there. I like that. Okay, I'm looking at the timer.
I want to do this real quick, because I had
closing in the 45-minute realm.
I want to say this because I had to go back this year and look at it. Where did Genuine Tong Funeral come from? The imagination of, and it was Carla Blythe composition, inspired by a French film on American TV of a funeral procession passing through the streets of Hong Kong. That was the inspiration. A French film on American TV of a funeral procession in Hong Kong.
Funeral procession in Hong Kong.
And
that makes sense.
It does. And at this time, Burton
kind of reminds you of a New Orleans funeral march, though, too.
Yeah, the dirge.
That's where I want to drop in the interlude, a section on the interlude. I want to bring this in. It was song number 4. And there's a lumbering sound that happens throughout this. There's the timpani and the vibes, and like a slow march on stilts, it lumbers into the song, and then the tuba kicks in, and what I said is, it's like a cartoon style from Tim Burton. Lumbering that happens in interlude. So I'm going to drop that in here. Yeah. And that lumbering sound, that big, tall, still New Orleans funeral.
Yeah,
what it kind of was. I wanted to make sure that I put those notes in there for that.
Yeah, totally is.
So
The Burton. Yeah.
Tim Burton.
Tim Burton.
Yeah, Tim Burton, a lumbering cartoon
Burton.
of Gary Burton playing on Interlude.
Well, and
That's
you know
cool.
what? The other part of the album is, yes, it's kind of serious, it's kind of dark, but there's also some humor in there too. And you and I talked about that this morning. Where's the humor at in jazz anymore? If you can't laugh at it,
Mm.
what's it all about?
Who said that, by the way?
I think that was that Ella.
Ella Fitzgerald.
I'm
Can't
pretty sure,
laugh at
I'm
it.
pretty sure it was either Ella that said it, or it was in her paragraph of the
Yep.
magazine.
It's got to be fun.
Yeah.
When did the
and
humor leave?
there are some fun aspects of a genuine Tong funeral.
Oh yeah.
Well, we laughed about it the week of. It's a tong. It's a barbecue tong, and it's a funeral for one.
Speaking of which, there happens to be a picture of a man on 4th of July holding a tong.
I'm going to put that in right now.
There you go.
That was a resurrection Tong, though.
Yeah, it was. And some good burgers
And some good
that came from that
burgers.
tong. And brats.
Brats.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, pork
Oh,
chop.
Pork
come
chop.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember we didn't have burgers. We had brats
Yeah,
and pork
right.
chop.
It wasn't burgers. It was brats. Yeah.
Pork chop. Yeah, forget about it.
Man.
Oh, they were good.
So, okay, we didn't get to. We talked a little bit about the album, and most importantly, Gary Burton. Passengers was another album to check into, and there's a lot of Gary Burton albums. So for all of y'all tuning in, we may not have gotten into the facts of the album or Gary. Go check out Gary for yourself, because
Oh man.
it's years of listening to his music to understand how phenomenal he really is, and then look at the connection. Pardon me, the connection between him and Pat Metheny. Matt,
Mhm.
we didn't ever touch on that. Do you want? We'll get to that. I'm sure one day we will have a Pat Metheny album, and we'll come
I
back
hope
to
so.
Gary Burton.
I really hope
But-
so, because I will do the last episode with no clothes on if there's not a Pat Metheny album on this list.
We've yet to see one, and we're down at 35. So
Yeah.
if it is, it's going to be a real banger.
Okay. So yeah, one final comment was what Gary told Pat, and I think you remembered a little better than I do, but it was basically, don't put crap music out there.
Yep.
You got to make something good,
Yeah.
put it out, but most of all, do what you like. And Pat has lived by that. It's in his interview with Rick Beato.
I'm going to put a link to that right above Phil's head.
But
Note to
but
self.
Pat says I play it because it sounds good to me.
Yep.
And I feel like Gary taught him that. So final
Yeah.
thoughts?
Yeah. Hey, I tell you, the combination of the two, Gary Burton and then Robert Galinas, reading this book, bringing me home to Never the Same Old Song. That was one of his ways of talking about improvisation. Yeah, Never the Same Old Song. And this week was not the same, even from album to album. Yeah, I appreciated it. I'm gonna go with a rating if I can. I just kicked that
Let's
off.
rock it, baby.
Rate it. I'll put this out at the 8.5.
Ooh, nice.
Shazam!
I really will.
I got to
Yeah.
write that in my.
8.5.
That's a solid rating.
Yeah, I'm coming up. My appreciation, I think. But yeah, what'd you guys do?
That's
What'd
a
you
solid
have?
rating. You know what? In mine, my rating. And again, I don't want to have to explain my rating, but I think my rating was the overall artist rather than just a Genuine Tong Funeral. I
Oh.
did love Genuine Tong Funeral.
Yeah.
I did. But my overall rating for Gary Burton, 9.5. There's just so much good stuff to talk about, Gary. Lift up that light right there and grab the book on the bottom. Grab that
bottom
book on the
book.
bottom.
All right, the big one.
The big one on the
Oh
bottom.
my
Now,
word!
I will tell you this.
That's why he's a 9.5.
I will tell you this. I do have to change my name. So my name from now on is going to be Nathan. I've got a signed copy of Gary Burton's book
No,
that's made out to Nathan.
but it was to Nathan.
So from now on, you
How
can
could you change that to Matthew?
you can call me
That almost
Nate,
looks like
you can call me
Matthew.
Nathan,
Yeah.
or you can call me whatever you want. But Gary, love the book. Thank you so much. I bought the book on eBay. That's why it's made out to Nathan and not me.
Hey, before you give your rating, I'd love to have Gary listen to this and be like, Gary, what would you rate that album as? Because that was in the 60s, man. He'd be like, Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
Here's my rating. But Drew, what was yours?
So, Matt, I had something written down for your rating of this album, and I didn't think it was the 9.5. I don't remember this conversation from back then, so I was only looking at my notes. You guys went out shebanging on this, and I have to look at mine and go, "Oh crap!" I may take a step back. This was not one of my most favorite albums, just because the lack of understanding. I didn't quite get it at first. It wasn't about Gary Burton. I can't rate that. It was about the mentality of the album, which is why I ended up looking again. Where did it get inspired from? And what was Carla Bly doing? Because this was the first major project that she had done. And she's done some really cool stuff since then and some very bizarre stuff. My rating for the album was 7.5.
I'm looking at my notes. And again, I'm not changing my score. I mean, I have to change my score because, yes, I rated the artist 9.5, but a genuine Tong funeral on my notes, 7.5.
And we've done this over time where we have to separate the artist from the album because Gary deserves a 10.
Oh yeah.
But we're rating.
You gotta let him finish why he calls it this from what he says about Bly. You gotta read it.
Go ahead, read it.
Oh, but he said, I'll read the whole thing. Tong funeral was a little sad for me. A New Orleans jazz funeral. Bly wrote this, and she may have been a little loony. Man, if you go look up Carla Bly, that picture they even have of her on Spotify, you're like, yeah, she wrote Tong funeral.
She kind of looks loony.
That's great.
I can't judge on looks, but her mind for music, and there'll be somebody else who we run into this. What was their inspiration for this? And of course, I've got to ask, how did it make it to the top 100 list? John Dewey and the team out there, what?
Yep. This album in particular in the top 100.
If it's going to be a Gary Burton album, just throw Passengers out there and be done. Just drop the mic and go home. We know where that lands.
But it shook. It shook
us up. Yeah.
And shook it like a tong.
So all of y'all going back to this, the Jazzwise top 100 albums that shook the world. This we've said it before a dozen times. This was not about the best selling. It was not about the highest rated. This was not about Billboard albums, but this was a list of albums that became a landmark that changed jazz and changed lives and brought the music into the 2000s, the life-affirming music. And so did it shake the world? From that standpoint, it really did, because it was an introduction to Carla.
Yeah.
Shook my world.
Shook my world.
Yeah. Shook mine, for sure. Yep.
So there's our ratings.
I just say I had the highest rating then.
Nice.
8.5.
8.5. And we had 7.5.
But again, these are out of 4 people I've listened to and my understanding of it. So who knows what's going to happen after we chase this a little longer. Maybe I'll go 8.5. What was I thinking?
Well,
because I'm
okay, but your weekend music had a lot to do with how you rated it.
Yep.
Your overall feeling of being able to play it for your family.
Yep.
Had an overall rating, score of it. And he and I, again, we're only 25 into the journey right now on Gary Burton.
Yeah.
So again, I'm thinking back a year ago, and 7.5 would have been a decent score for us.
Yep.
For Gary,
as we learn what we don't know.
For a genuine Tong funeral, yeah. What you don't know, you don't know.
Yep.
So I'm going to go ahead and just introduce the next artist. Now, in true jazz style, we are going to improvise just a little bit here because Gary Burton is number 75 in the magazine. Next week, we are going to be covering artist number 73. We're going to skip over 74 for next week. We're going to come back to 74 in 2 weeks at a very special recording location. We're don't want to give too much away, but 74 is going to be pivotal for that location. Okay. It was an eye-opening week for you and I on our journey. It's going to be eye-opening for you when you find out and realize why it shook the world.
Cool.
Now, so it's number 73 in the countdown. Steve Coleman and Five Elements. Now, Steve's an alto sax player, and Graham Hayes on trumpet, Cassandra Wilson on vocals. I mean, you can't go wrong. We covered Cassandra at the one of the starting artists of our journey. We are Cassandra fans. So Cassandra Wilson on vocals.
Blue Light Till Dawn.
Yeah, Blue Light Till Dawn. Those are the really the only other names that I recognize on the album. So Steve Coleman and Five Elements. The album name is Motherland Pulse, and it was released on the JMT label on LP and CD. It was recorded in 1985. So we're going to get some mid 80s alto sax jazz in our ears next week. Artist number 73.
All right. And there'll be some singing on this one.
There will be some vocals. Yep, there will be some vocals.
Good.
Cassandra Wilson, yes. If you have not listened to us talk about Cassandra Wilson, man, please join us on the Unconnoisseur at the Cassandra Wilson episode, which would have been.
I'm going to link that right above Phil's head now.
Would have been episode number 10. Artist number 90 in the magazine. And
I think that I did go back to those notes. We talked about M-Bass.
M-Bass, yep.
The M-Bass music of Steve Coleman. And so having this come around now, not only do we get to hear Cassandra again, sweet, but we understand what Steve Coleman was doing in the 80s. So M-Bass, Steve Coleman.
Yep.
Steve Coleman and the Five Elements.
Yep. Motherland Pulse. Yep.
All right.
All right.
Cool. Looking forward to it.
Hey, thanks for joining us this week on The Unconnoisseur. You can always email us at theunconnoisseur@gmail.com. You can find us on the web at theunconnoisseur.com. Find me on TikTok, which I haven't done many TikTok videos. It's just been a crazy time, holiday weekend, birthday weekend, this, that, and the other. But I'm on TikTok at The Unconnoisseur. Drew, you're knocking it out of the park with the shorts on YouTube. And man, your production of our videos it just blows me out of the water every week that I see it. You come up with something new and refreshing.
I don't know how he makes it look good, but he does a good job. No, really, it is. It is. Yeah. I've enjoyed it. Yeah, especially the journey of it from the beginning to this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We learn and grow. We improv as we go.
Well, that's right. And again, what we don't know, and we're still learning, and that's why we're still unconnoisseurs.
Give yourself a break this week. You just don't know what you don't know. Take it easy. Listen to some jazz as you go through this week.
Whatever you do it
to jazz.
Right
on.
Thanks, guys.
Oh, man. Cheers, everybody.
A lot of it.
A lot of what?
A lot of it.
A lot of cerveza.
A lot of cerveza. All right.